Hi, my name is Stefany Parada Velásquez. Today is 6th of April 2025. I was born and raised in the capital of El Salvador, San Salvador, Central America, and now I'm based in London. I believe I born for paint. From a young age, my family encouraged me to draw and paint, believing I have inherited an artistic talent from my parents. In school, I create illustrations that teachers couldn't replicate in the chalkboards. I remember making murals in classrooms and drew for classmates after the drawing the chalkboards. Um, or everything without painting lessons. I spent countless hours painting imaginary landscapes after school at home and often late into the night, filling my room walls with the paper paintings. I eventually graduated with a marketing degree in my 20s, and I built a corporate career of 20 years working with plenty roles into marketing departments and work for different Hispanic countries. I got diagnosis until my 30s that I am neurodivergent. While working in the corporate world, I spent my free time painting, often at nights, until one day a colleague asked me to paint something for his home in 2011. That was the first time I sold a painting, and soon after I started selling my artwork organically when I started to show it on social media. The way I see the world is more about my own experiences and how I process things. Growing up, I was impulsive, rebellious, and irreverent. I didn't fit the mold, and that definitely had an impact on how I view the world and how I create. I can get completely consumed by things I obsess over, often diving into existential topics that can shift my perception of the world in dramatic ways, and I channel all that energy into painting. My art has always been a way for me to process and express those moments. As someone who's neurodivergent, I think it's also giving me a unique way to improvising and solving problems. It's made me more empathetic, even when I don't always understand social codes or how I come across. Those strengths of empathy and being able to think outside of the box have played a role in how I approach my art. My work isn't planned or structured in the typical way. It's more about following the emotional energy wherever it leads me. While my family definitely encouraged me to draw and paint from a young age, there was a lot of freedom to create, but not a lot of cultural pressure or expectations about what my art should be. Instead of being influenced by my familiar culture, I think my art is more about my internal experiences, my personal journey, my obsessions, and the questions that have consumed me over the years. It's a way to express what's going on inside me, to take those overwhelmed thoughts and emotions and turn them into something visual. My time in the corporate world and my neurodivergence definitely impact how I approach creating art. I had to deal with organizational challenges, but I think it's also helped me become more resourceful and adaptable in my creative process. I work in bursts of energy at nights, sometimes getting lost in a piece for hours or days. And I think that's a reflection of how my mind works. My upbringing gave me so the freedom to discover my own voice and create on my own terms without the restrictions of cultural or familiar expectations. I believe I was influenced by what I read during my 15th, as I was always obsessed with encyclopedias and books filled with horror stories or mystery. I remember Edgar Allan Poe and some quotes from Leonardo da Vinci, who seems mysterious for me. I found a connection between this quote, and my burst of energy at night, or what I recognize as the technical word hyperfocus. The quote said, "O dreamer, what is sleep? If when you sleep you resemble the sad dead, better dedicate yourself to creating a work that, when you die, will show you that you were completely alive." So that's the quote for me that match with my burst of energy at night. Right now I'm focusing and starting my self-employed journey. And this year I recently opened my Etsy shop, and now I'm creating original pieces full time. The big challenge of being an artist, I believe, is staying focused on thinking outside the box while being surrounded by so many voices trying to persuade you to follow predetermined paths has always been a challenge for me. In my case, being neurodivergent without realizing it added an extra layer of difficulty. Those external pressures to conform often made it harder to trust my own instincts and creative process. But ultimately, it's through embracing my unique way of thinking that I found strength and clarity. The one advice I will give to my younger self is there is nothing wrong with your different way of behaving. Over time, the world around you will adapt to you, and what do you think is a disadvantage will become your greatest resource for facing the world. You'll make things a little better around you. You shouldn't eliminate your impulsivity. Instead, you can make it your friend by learning which risk to take and which ones to avoid. I've stayed quite conventional up until now, only working with acrylics. So I think it's finally time to move forward and learn something else and take classes to explore another technique. Maybe when I'm working, I used to listen to kind of things. I have two mental states. One is when I am hyper focused and become unaware of the sounds around me. I lose track of time. I become time blind and mostly hear my mental traffic. Sometimes I make strange noises because they are small pieces of music stuck in my memory. People who is around, sometimes they said, "You sound like a child making sounds when it's playing alone." The other mental state is when I'm feeling emotionally down, but I need to paint because I have for example, in order to complete. So in those moments, I need to distract myself to concentrate. So I listen to documentaries on a specific topics, few topics such as world mysteries, human behavior, or general story. And sometimes the music of my favorite singer is Joaquin Sabina. The best reaction that someone has had about my artwork, I remember, was during the pandemic when I did a painting commissions for a person from United States. It was of her late grandfather and her father. The idea behind of the painting was to bring them together in the artwork, with the background being the grandfather's farm, since they had never taken a picture together in life. My client was deeply moved as she watched them emerge in the process on the canvas, and she told me that she could truly feel my empathy and connection while I was creating it. So when someone experiences my artwork, they can take away a sense of raw, untouched by technical rules. I paint that what I'm obsessed, drawn to, following my instinctive drive rather than any strict approach. Even though I've never taken formal painting classes, my pieces often feel like they were created with an innate understanding, as thought the techniques were instinctively absorbed, not learned. My art is spontaneous, unpolished, and deeply impersonal. And I hope that viewers feel that authenticity. I've managed to deliver results that leave my clients satisfied and moved. So they feel the authenticity and emotion in my work, which transcends the technically of a traditional painting.